Warm greetings, friends. Welcome back. So, as usual, we'll just begin with reconnecting to our motivation, this genuine, heartfelt love and compassion for all beings, this bodhichitta. We're taking this time to pay attention to what's vitally important in our lives. So we're going to temporarily put aside just kind of other things and create a little space, a little pause and time to be with the Buddha Dharma and to open our hearts to it and to kind of hone our attention on the Dharma and just let that kind of be the atmosphere we're going to be in here for a few minutes together. So we activate this bodhicitta and then kind of relax into also this pure perception, as Rinpoche has talked about so many times. Is a key point of Vajrayana practice, so we'll just do that for a moment. Thank you. So this has been an interesting topic for me to consider this time. So I'd like to try to give myself a little bit of a kind of like sandbox to try to have to orient within for these really brief kind of Dharma talks. And so the title for this one I just kind of came up with is The Easy Path of Vajrayana, Using Limitations for Liberation. So the easy path of Vajrayana Buddhism, how do we use our limitations for enlightenment? And I was thinking this morning, shoveling manure and soil, and I thought to myself, day by day, kind of considering this topic, what makes Vajrayana the easy path? Because it's a statement that's really proclaimed far and wide in the lineage tradition. The Vajrayana is the swift and easy path. And it kind of, what I came to this morning is this topic for me is more like love letters to Vajrayana. Kind of like all the ways that I'm kind of dazzled by the exceptional, extraordinary qualities of Tibetan Buddhism and the little bit I know about it. So the topic today is kind of what makes this easy. In the past few kind of times, I seem to be like on a little bit of a cycle of giving warnings. Like, this requires us to really show up for Vajrayana practice, and we have to keep going, and we have to keep checking in with ourselves, and we have to be willing to receive feedback from other people, and including and especially like a teacher or a guru that we're connected with. All the ways that we can't blame life for happening to us, but we have to actually utilize life in order to flourish. So I've kind of been on a little bit of a trajectory of that flavor. And so I thought to mention also just the beautiful bounty of Vajrayana too. And so there's more, this is more like a letter or like a give me some little space, because this is more like poetry and less like a technical analysis, okay? So I have my own kind of reflections, and then I'll base it in like lineage text too. And some of what I'm going to say is maybe like unconventional, but also really obvious in a certain view. So the easy path of Vajrayana. So I think I came to the point in my mind, and I've come to it like again and again a bit. One point is that Tibetan Buddhism has nothing to do with Tibet. I think this is like such a big point that is again and again proclaimed by lineage masters. And Longchenpa, in one of his 7 treasuries, the Treasury of Philosophical Systems, I think it's chapter 1, he's going over the history of Buddhism. And in that teaching by Longchenpa, he very clearly talks about how Vajrayana was fully taught by Buddha Shakyamuni in India before it went to Tibet. And if you look at his more subtle level history of Tibetan Buddhism in that same chapter, how the Buddha was enlightened a long time before he was enlightened in India, eons ago, and how then he turned the wheel of Dharma, Vajrayana Dharma. Just yesterday, Venerable Khenpo Rinpoche is talking about how Amitabha became enlightened 10 days ago. Buddha Amitabha was enlightened 10 days ago, according to his time frame in Dewa Chen. And for human years, that's 10,000 eons ago. So Vajrayana happened a long time before this world system, before Tibet, before India, before language here, before any artifacts we have, any empirical data we're going to get on it. There are just so many tantras and sutras that go over the vast, extensive cosmological history of Tibetan Buddhism with a lot of detail. So that said, somehow we have the incredible great fortune that the Buddha came at this time, some 600 or so, or 2,500, 2,600 years ago. In India, he turned the wheel of Dharma. Guru Rinpoche appeared, manifested in India, took the full Vajrayana teachings to Tibet. That was firmly established by the great Dharma King Tritsen Detsen, Shantarakshita, and Guru Padmasambhava. That's around the 8th century, that it's been an uninterrupted living lineage that has not broken up until this very present moment. And it's continuing with all these lineage masters. It's a big thing nowadays to try to find a transformative method that's really accessible, that's really human, that's really organic, that's totally scalable with so many big problems we have. How can we be friends, right? Get a lot of humans together. How do you get them to not kill each other when it's a lot of them? That is a problem that has been plaguing human civilization for millennia. But Tibet is an example of how to do it. They were able to do this with Tibetan Buddhism in Tibet. Vajrayana coming into Tibet. All these decentralized hubs of nunneries and monasteries, and look at how many enlightened beings Tibetan Buddhism produced in Tibet. There's so many that we know about, let alone the ones we don't know about or can't perceive ourselves. This entire culture became oriented around Bodhichitta is the beginning. All beings have Buddha nature. The best thing someone can do in this life is get enlightenment so they can serve effectively all beings forever. That became like a cultural norm. And of course, Tibet is not a homogeneous culture, just like no culture is. All the Tibetan people aren't the same. They're just people. So just because we can take some lens and look at, oh, this was wrong and that was wrong and this is wrong and that was wrong, that's great. Honestly, that's really impressive. It's important to look at power dynamics and to see who has power and who doesn't. But that's the first noble truth. There's suffering. It's not all perfect. So we need to highlight suffering, but then we can't forget there's a second noble truth, third noble truth, fourth noble truth too. Okay, so we can diagnose a situation as being very difficult in certain ways, systemically or just in little points. But so what do we do? What's the path? How can we prevent it? How can we heal it? How can we overcome it? How can we liberate this problem of suffering? And Buddha taught this so long ago, and it's been taught way before our enlightened system, or this system here, this world system. So Tibetan Buddhism has nothing to do with Tibet, and yet Tibet should be honored with folded hands just like Mother India. Look at all these Tibetans that have done it. Look at all these Indians that have done it. Look at all these people from all around who've applied these teachings and gotten the fruit. Achieved bhumis, like actually become liberated Arya noble beings, and let alone go through the bhumis, become fully awakened, enlightened beings that will serve other beings perfectly for the rest of time and space. It's really well worth us like taking a humble position and saying, oh, how did they do this? How did this work? And so that's kind of a point of what we're doing here. How does this Tibetan Buddhism work? Like, why is it worthy of respect? Why is it, like, how did it do this? And let alone big claims of being the easy path. Tibet produced all these enlightened beings. And even if we don't believe enlightenment, which is a really funny idea for a Buddhist, if you don't believe in enlightenment and you're here, this is an interesting thing to consider how that's possible. But say we put that aside. What's the way we begin every session? It's bodhicitta. What if that was a common human standard? Okay, before we say something, arouse bodhicitta. Oh, before we learn something, arouse bodhicitta. Before we make art, arouse bodhicitta. Before we go to our job, arouse bodhicitta. Think of how high level, how mature, like how amazing a technique for that to become a cultural norm. For us now to be we're reproducing that culture. We're in that. We're trying to hold ourselves accountable to that standard, such a high standard where really everyone is included, no one's left out. We can't put anyone on the side. Everyone has to be allowed in. No one will ever be left out. That's Sutra Mahayana. This is the heart of Tantra Mahayana. How amazing to just take a moment to pause and activate bodhicitta in ourselves, and all of a sudden, things get a lot easier, don't they? They definitely do for me. Take a moment to pause, reactivate compassion, have more bodhicitta come out, really a deep, genuine love for beings, just for a moment or two. I mean, it softens everything. Everything kind of sets into place just a little bit. Let alone have that be something we experience moment by moment, hour by hour, day by day, year by year. Like, that's what we're all practicing for. That's what we're all studying. To be in the space of bodhicitta all the time. That's what this whole path is about. So if we can do that, then Vajrayana becomes easy. That's kind of point one. I think a separate point is, I think being able to use Tibetan Buddhism or Vajrayana requires many things. And Rinpoche, Venerable Khenpo Tsewang Dongyal Rinpoche, Venerable Khenchen Palden Sherpa Rinpoche as well, they've gone over this list of what makes a qualified teacher and what makes a qualified student many, many times. And Jigme Lingpa is taught on it, and Pacha Rinpoche is taught on it, Mipan Rinpoche is taught on it, His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche is taught on it. I say their names quickly because the list is so long. Like, all these noble beings taught on what, especially for us as students, what makes us appropriate vessels. One way we can say that, what makes us ready? How do we ready ourselves for the Vajrayana? And one thing I think is really simple, there's a few things, but that's really, really simple is open-mindedness. Maybe. Just that idea, maybe. Could the Tibetan Buddhism have been taught before this world system happened? Maybe. For the Big Bang? Maybe. Can we heal each other with light? Maybe. I don't know, maybe. Could bodhicitta arise this moment? Maybe. Because in Sutra Mahayana, they think it takes eons. The Buddha taught it takes a long time to have an actual authentic moment of bodhicitta. But in Tantra Mahayana, it says it can happen right now. Is that possible? Maybe. Could it be that I'm not a bad person? Could it be that you're actually good? Could it be that the world's really workable? Could it be that Amitabha's Pure Land is in the West? Could it be that it's the easiest thing to get into Dewa Chen by offering a flower to the West with genuine intention and certainty? Please may all beings be reborn in circumstances that utterly flourish and support their enlightenment forever in Dewa Chen. Is that possible? Maybe. If our answer is not a pretty loose, easy to happen maybe, then we really need to look at that. Because Vajrayana really requires an open mind. There's a lotus on a bed of flames with a sun and a moon and 4 arms. And I mean, if we don't consider this with a little flexibility of imaginative mind, like what are we doing, you know? Maybe. Because it doesn't work without that. It just doesn't work. If we really come to Vajrayana and think, I know how this works, I don't need to learn anything else, it just won't work. And it's even harder if we practice Vajrayana a long time, and that's where we get to, oh, I know everything. I don't need to learn anything else. I'm done. I know it all, you know? That's much more dangerous. They call it a leather bag that holds butter. It's soft on the inside but brittle on the outside. It's very easy to break. It becomes a poison vessel. We can't receive the nutrition of Dharma anymore because we just kept it up here and we didn't try to become it. And the more we do that, the stronger the habit gets, the more impervious we become to receiving the Dharma. To consider, oh, maybe this is true. Maybe it's possible. Maybe enlightenment in a lifetime is possible. Maybe. Maybe all sounds arise as the mandala is like pure enlightened mantra. Maybe. Maybe I don't even have to say a mantra. The mantra is already there resounding, self-resounding, right? Because that's like what the teaching says we should try to do. Let the mantra be there. We're not making it be there. We're just seeing, oh, it's there. Oh, I'll just allow it to be doing what it is doing and I won't get in its way. That's pure view. Maybe. Without that flexibility of mind, without really genuinely considering a much more of a both and kind of perspective. Not this way, not that way. What is Madhyamaka all about? I mean, really, I'm throwing around some terms because sometimes it's good to just get into the meat of these things. What's Madhyamaka middle way teachings all about? I mean, the noble Nagarjuna said the highest view is the one that grasps onto no view. Go beyond all views. To not take a position with any kind of rigidity or fixation or false certainty. This is the way it is. Because Vajrayana is intentionally designed to completely destroy that. This is the way it is. Vajrayana is completely designed to uproot our duality clinging. And we've heard it so many times. And so anytime it comes up a sense of, I know this, I'm right, this is right. And then it gets tenser, and our blood pressure goes up, and we start pointing fingers. This is not a Madhyamaka view. So how could it be a Vajrayana view? Madhyamaka has to be included in Vajrayana. That's what all the teachers said. If we're really in the nature of mind, if someone's really abiding in flexible open awareness, like how can you get into some big fight and be angry? If you're really in it. Because all the teachings on Vajrayana being the easy path, and there's lists of them. Venerable Khenpo Rinpoche's, they talk about it in their Outer Tantra book. The 15 distinctions between the Sutrayana and the Tantrayana. They excerpt it from the Chakras and Vara Tantra. They go through the 15 points that proclaim why Vajrayana is greater than Sutrayana. And this is really key here. Not against Sutrayana. It's not either or. It's both and. It's Sutrayana plus. Just like it's foundational Buddhism plus. And if really, for all of us, if we've come to that point of understanding already, yes, we're learning. If we still think Hinayana's against Mahayana's, against Vajrayana, like this is completely not a Dharma teaching. They're all unified together in the synthesis. So in these teachings, the 15 distinctions between Sutrayana and Vajrayana, then they're distilled into the 4 condensed points of what makes Vajrayana so amazing. And they all come down to directly recognizing the nature of mind. All of them. And I have no ability to say anything about that. But they're living lineage masters that can, and they do, and they are, and they're still here, and we can connect to them, and we can work with them. And they're these living teachings of Vajrayana that are exactly suitable to whatever we're ready for, that'll help us see our mind. What is our mind truly? The nature of our mind. Without all this fixation and hang-ups and expectations and hopes and fears and aversions and all the things. That's just samsaric mind, you know. So if we're really serious about Vajrayana, which I mean, on occasion I am. Most of the time I'm wasting my time. But in a moment of being serious about Vajrayana, then we really have to take that seriously. If it's possible, if maybe it's true, the nature of mind is actually the way the Buddha taught about it. Being free and open. It's filled with bodhicitta. The simple way of saying it's just bodhicitta, just come out. Just all the time it's bodhicitta, you know. If that could be true, that is the only thing that will liberate us from samsara. So many teachers teach on this. Toko Urgent Rinpoche has so many books on this. Shogyan Lomkhai Norbu Rinpoche has so many books on this. Venerable Khenpo Rinpoche's, in all of their books, they say the same thing. That's one of the qualities of Vajrayana. A distinction between Sutrayana and Vajrayana is the cause. A cause has the same nature as a result. So instead of thinking that right now something's broken, like in me, the result is already the same nature as the cause. If Buddha nature is true, then enlightened nature, if Buddha nature is true, the enlightened nature is here and it's what I am, then I don't have to wait a long time to awaken it. It's already here. I just have to see it. We just have to recognize it. We just have to kind of look for ourselves. And then Vajrayana becomes easy. That's what we try to do at the beginning of every sadhana. It's what we're really encouraged to do. All these great masters, they're really not trying to just have us have where we have all these repetitions and we've done all these things. I mean, it's trying to recognize our mind right now and again and again and again. And they're so kind that these great enlightened beings keep showing up and they keep doing things and giving us an opportunity to recognize the nature of my mind right now. Okay, so say someone can do that for once, for a few minutes, for a few days. Then the teacher's going to come and say, can you do it now? And they're going to do something. And it's going to activate something in us. Oh no, oh, I'm so bad. Oh, I'm the best. Oh no, what's going on? I'm confused. Right? People who've been around Vajrayana, they know this. And it's look now. That's what it is. Look now. Do you have an open mind now? Because when the moment of death comes, or when big societal collapse comes, and all these really serious suffering things are happening, right? Obviously, personally in our lives and on bigger scales. When those things come, look to the mind. And if we can do that, then all these other Vajrayana claims become self-evident. Maybe, more than maybe, probably. Oh, it's probably true that the Buddha taught Vajrayana before even he was in India. It's probably true that I could get enlightenment in this single lifetime if I really put my mind to it. It's probably true. And we're trying to get this type of certainty, a really heartfelt conviction, whereby looking really clearly and closely at our own minds and at our own habits, and really again and again at the nature of our mind. Activate bodhicitta, activate bodhicitta. We're trying to get this certainty that no matter what happens, we won't waver. We still will stay with our nature of bodhicitta. Absolute bodhicitta, relative bodhicitta, and their union. We can call it so many things, and these great masters did. According to the readiness of beings, whatever helps pop that light on for all these beings, they taught all these teachings, 84,000 teachings. All different paths to just recognize the same thing are what is the nature of my mind right now. And then Vajrayana is one of its distinct points of being so easy. It's known as the path of skillful means. If the nature's already there in our minds, if the nature of everything is fundamentally good, fundamentally free, beyond all categorization, beyond any way we want to chop it up and hold on for a reference system so we can feel comforted. If the nature's already actually open, then we can use anything to reconnect to that nature. You can use the internet, can use food, can use making money, losing money, getting happy, sunshine, internet fails, no water doesn't turn on in the tap, no electricity, Netflix down, sickness, old age, death. The range of skillful means is so incredible for Vajrayana. Because in Sutra Mahayana, the view was already taught by the Buddha in Sutra Mahayana. It's great Madhyamaka, going beyond all conceptual designations and any fixation on there being an inherent existence. The simple way to put this is everything changes. Literally everything. All minds, all material, all felt sense of self, all felt sense of other. It all changes all the time. It's fundamentally illusory. The Buddha taught that in the Sutra Mahayana. There's all these additional techniques the Buddha taught as Guru Rinpoche. And it's all these great beings. With Tantra Mahayana, the Sok ceremony that we do regularly, reciting mantras, dedicating a portion of money we make for Dharma activities so that our profession can always be looped into a Dharma activity. Put $5 away every week just to sponsor someone for a retreat or something. Then your whole career becomes a Dharma activity. Rejoicing in other beings' happiness. Rejoicing in the good things we do. Confessing, having bi-weekly confessions of the mistakes we make and forgiving each other. These Sangha ceremonies on the 10th and 25th days. All these skillful means are available to reconnect to our nature of mind. And that in others. It becomes so easy. We don't have to fixate so much on what to accept and what to reject. But it comes down to the point of actually nature of mind. So if we take this seriously, there's these living masters that can help us see that. And not just see it, but get more familiar with it. And not just get kind of familiar, become really certain about it. Rain or shine. Whether we're on our first prostration or our 100,000th prostration, or whether it was someone just said something shocking, or someone just said something so loving, then we're trying to keep connecting to this nature, this bodhicitta. That's the path. It's really the practice. And that's all, we'll just keep doing it. And we have such a great fortune, these masters will keep using all the skillful means available. Mundane ones, lineage ones, traditional ones, really unexpected ones. And they'll keep introducing us that, we're, just like a mirror, right? You're fundamentally good. All that's so interesting comes to mind. this idea of acceptance, So many people, there's so many near-death stories. It's so interesting, this is popping in my mind right now. There's so many near-death experiences. And a lot of people come back and they they come back in a hospital situation without going into all these details. They come back and they say so many similar things. And one of the similar things that a lot of people report is the first time I felt really accepted. They're dying, dead. Somehow there's some experience of just being seen fully and without any manipulation or any judgments. Just full acceptance. And it's really similar what we're trying to do in Vajrayana. This is our nature, I fully accept it. This is your nature, I fully accept it. That's where I'm going to begin every moment. See you as a Buddha, see me as a Buddha. And if we have to fake it to make it and take little steps and think a Buddha and try to visualize and make all these additional skillful means to orient our minds so that we can relax and just accept that fact. That the Buddha nature is already there. Then we use whatever we can. That's the path. But the path is the path and the result is the result. And the path is the skillful means and the result is actually being in our nature. That's the principal point, which is a really key point. The point of Buddhism is not to stay on the path. The point of Buddhism is to realize the result. And the result is realized by whatever path gets you there. And the easiest, quickest, most lightning fast view is you're already there, because the nature of the cause and the result is both emptiness, lack of inherent existence, and beyond all conceptual designation. And not just saying that and just repeating the words or something, that's easy. Anyone can do it. An AI robot can do it. But actually abiding in bodhicitta, then we're in the result right now. And then it's not in the path. Then we're in the fruition. And then if our recognition kind of closes and stops, then we use a skillful means to reconnect. The moment we think we're not enlightened, we create the need for a path. Because we don't see truly. We don't see the fact of the matter that that's the enlightened nature. We don't see it, so ignorance happens. And then we need a path to re-recognize the skillful means path. And Vajrayana has so many skillful means. It's a function of our own occluded seeing that we can't yet reveal. We can't disclose our nature right now. So we need all these techniques. And Vajrayana is filled with techniques. So the great master Vimalamitra, also he taught that Vajrayana is so incredible and extraordinary because there's so many skillful means, which I very kind of casually threw things out in a very random list. And 2, instead of believing that we're broken, we can actually use our destructive emotions for what they are, the energetic expression of our mind. We don't have to see them as enemies to get rid of. We actually can use them. That's like poison as medicine, right? This is very typical Vajrayana view. Then 3, it's easy because we don't have to give up the luxuries of the 6 sense pleasures from the Vajrayana view. We can use them like food offering. We eat food and make a Gana Chakra offering as we eat. And so there's so much merit involved in that practice. And then 4, it's so swift. They say, Vimalamitra said, and this isn't from the Clear Lamp, his teaching called the Clear Lamp, it's so swift because if we recognize our nature right now, then the path is it's instantly done. We're at the result. And then we keep reintroducing that to ourselves every day with sadhana practice, going for refuge, generating bodhichitta, doing our Ngondro sessions, doing whatever practices we're working. All we're doing is reintroducing what a teacher already showed us in us. We're just reintroducing it. And then we check in with the teacher if we get confused or lost or kind of the thrill is gone, and we can't kind of see clearly. Then a teacher so kindly will help us see it again. They'll fully accept our nature as in all this human baggage that we come with, which is beautiful. They're not going to throw out all the ways we show up as human beings. They're going to use that because they're great Vajrayana masters. So, I mean, for my own mind, when I hear, oh, Vajrayana is the easy path, then the doubt can really come up, you know? What do you mean easy? I've put some years into this, it's really hard, all this, get this sickness, and I have to keep doing the things, and struggle and all these things. So then it's like, well, how is it the easy path? Then we can't miss these key points. We can't, because we just waste a lot of time, and then a life will go, you know. We have to get really familiar with them. We really do. I mean, that's as a practitioner, so we can really help serve other beings. And I'm like throwing some words around like very casually in one way. But in another way, a lot of this is really technical. All this I'm saying really is a union of Rangtong, Shentong, and Dzogchen perspectives taught by Mepam Rinpoche. I'm not trying to break down all the analysis of how it's empty of like ego fixation and empty of the adventitious obscurations and totally full with all the perfected qualities already accomplished spontaneously right now. But if we really look at these teachings, we can go into the depths and really technically pick this stuff apart as the Rangtong, Shentong, and Dzogchen Mahamudra unions. And I've said it all, you know, and these great masters, they've said this so many times, all these things, but we have to make more familiar with these maps and then also with our own direct personal experience. But just as Vajrayana is just this giant kind of display of using all of experience as the path to reintroduce the nature, it makes sense that we get lost sometimes, or it's confusing, it's overwhelming, it's just so much. How do we fit all this together? The principal point really comes down to nature of mind. So we really should come back to that as much as we can. Find a teacher, a living teacher with lineage. And then like really genuinely ask them, what can I do to do this? You know, how can I make myself ready to actually recognize this? If this is true, if it's possible that my nature could be enlightened, what can I do? And that teacher that's all they want to do is help beings. They'll help you. And even if it doesn't make sense so clearly, or it's not, they'll help us learn to stand on our own 2 feet, where we don't depend on all these things to feel happy. They say not so sensitive like a blade of grass in the wind, just moves here and there, sunshine, happy, you know, rainy, sad. Like Longchenpa again said, oh, when we're, you know, on the beach hanging out, you know, we're great practitioners, but when something goes wrong, then we're not practitioners at all. The nature of mind is the same in all these cases. So I'm not saying that because I recognize that, because I'm in no way claiming that. But sitting here at the feet of great noble beings, the Venerable Khenpo Rinpoches, they're saying this again and again and again and again and again. Pick up one of their books, these unrestricted books. They introduce it again and again and again, almost every chapter. So this is really like kind of an interesting time. The seal is kind of broken on this. Like there's so many techniques for us to recognize this. There's so much study. There's so many living teachers. There's so much we can do to support if we're really curious and open-minded about this possibility of maybe I'm enlightened already. Maybe this nature is enlightened. Maybe you have enlightened nature. There is so much that would support that inquiry and that adventure right now. We're really in this time where everything is at our disposal. And once these teachings of the Buddha Shakyamuni conclude, like after he said about 5,000 or so years, for all the next Buddhas of this fortunate eon, the next 996 Buddhas, they won't say a single word about Vajrayana publicly. So we have some 2,400 years left where we can actually make this a living experience and use these teachings to really get realization and like really get acceptance and certainty that this is our nature. And this is the nature of all experience. It's fundamentally good. It is open, it is creative, it is loving, it is caring, it is fully embracive and inclusive in all ways, beyond any conception we could have about it, is Buddha nature. So we're in this kind of amazingly fragile, very small window on cosmological time to receive these teachings and to get together and practice them all together. It almost never happens. It happens in Dewa Chen every day, every moment, but I'm not in Dewa Chen yet. I'm really praying to get there. But right now, this is all on, it's all up for us. Like everything is in our favor. That's it. I'm trying to list some key things that have helped me over the years kind of stay on track a little bit. And I'm still not on track, I would say, but to help kind of avoid some things or kind of get myself out of the ditch in some ways. Like Tibetan Buddhism really isn't about Tibet. And at the same time, homage to Tibet, homage to Mother India, homage to this stainless noble lineage of masters. Without them, we would be lost as Vajrayana practitioners. Because we're just not ready to see the teachings that are always happening all the time. We're not ready. We're not clear enough to see it happening all the time. So last point, as a secular approach, what does this sound like, What is omniscience in a secular language? When we experience things, there's no noise. It's all signal. Everything is an avenue towards awakening. It's not like, oh, big samsara, all these crazy things, where's the truth? How do I make sense? What do I do next? Where's the signal? In a Tibetan Buddhist perspective, everything is telling us to wake up. Every experience, every emotion, everything that we hear, any thought that we have, it is all only signal. There is no noise. The Buddha said they looked throughout all of cosmic universes and they couldn't find a single speck of suffering. It's all only pure. It is all perfect signal. Then the question is making ourselves ready to actually, are we willing to consider that possibility? This is all awakened experience. All of body, speech, and mind, all form, sound, and space, all thoughts, all emotions, they all are the enlightened nature. Because this is where Vajrayana Buddhism begins. So as a point I wanted to highlight, really for myself, and then hopefully that's helpful, this is totally doable. These living masters are here. And we're so fortunate to be a part of these living lineages and these Terma traditions and Kama traditions that are still being turned in this very moment with our own experience and also with these great living beings. So I know I'm kind of bouncing around in my love letter to Vajrayana Buddhism, but sometimes it's good to just be in the soupy mix of love. And I'm okay with that. I like that. I like that. In fact, all these great masters, why we look at them? What do we see in them? You ever have that thing when you're like a kid and you see someone come in a room, you see something coming, and someone, they sparkle, right? They're have this shine. Like, oh, this person, they know something, They really come with some, and these great masters, they help us see what's going on there, Ooh, and we look and they help us see it in ourselves. So this is like a love letter to the world and all of Vajrayana practitioners and all sentient beings, we all have this nature, so there's no discrimination. It's really, these are such standard lineage teachings. So I hope I'm not in any way trespassing or saying something incorrectly. But, so check me. If this is not according to the lineage something, please check me because I don't want to deviate from the lineage teachings. So thank you. Love you. Love you all. Enjoy. Thank you. Thank you. Can I make a little clarification too about something I said?
Please.
I don't want to be misinterpreted. So in the point where I was talking about like how Tibetan Buddhism fundamentally has nothing to do with Tibet, because the Buddha taught that long before Vajrayana went to Tibet, that at the same time, Tibet, we all owe an incredible debt, like an unrepayable debt of kindness to all the Tibetans and the Tibetan Buddhist masters that have preserved Vajrayana teachings ongoingly for centuries through today and into the future. Like, of all the cultures, they created a culture where their streams were designed to produce prayers, and their wind was designed to produce prayers with prayer flags. And most of their economy went to libraries and educational institutions and art projects, painting deities, and it's a non-theistic tradition. That how much resilience the Tibetans have to forgive beings in the face of incredible tragedy. How much they intentionally left valuable resources in the earth to maintain earth balance. The incredible literacy rates of Tibetans for centuries. Like, it's such a fundamentally disarmed, non-violent culture as cultures go. And to have Bodhichitta be at the center of their culture, that's the normative line for Tibet, Bodhichitta. Like, we owe them, it's such an incredible repository of like living lineage wisdom where they honored their elders. They like dedicated so much time to preserving centuries of tradition in informed ways that could actually benefit their people right now on the ground. So I just don't want that to be misconstrued. It's like a living repository of all these insights and technologies of how we can create cultures and also like help nourish current cultures all around the world to actually do something like that Tibet has done. So that's it.
Thank you.
That's really important to say too. So sorry, I don't want that to be not clear. Thank you, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.